Hello, and welcome back to another episode of A Weekly Worms Point, the show where I talk about my worms and the things that interest... What? Worms? Wait, that's not right. It's Worms! The original. The very original. I figured... You know how sometimes I like to do, like, we're doing a bunch of PlayStation 1 games this month, or a bunch of PlayStation 2 games this month, or a bunch of racing games I like this month. Well, I figured... why not spend some weeks going through the different iterations of Worms? And if you don't know what Worms is, you're probably getting a decent idea of it by now. It's a turn-based strategy game, but it's kind of unlike any normal you might have seen. It's worms. You control a team of worms, and you have various weapons with which to blow each other up. There's terrain deformation back in 1999 or whenever this first came out. That's kind of a big deal. And the series has remained pretty true to its roots ever since. Don't talk to me about Worms Rumble, I've never heard of it, doesn't exist. Conventionally this is a multiplayer game, but I'm doing something which I've always enjoyed doing throughout life, which is just playing against myself. And you might think that's a little counterintuitive, because how can you formulate like actual strategies against yourself? And the way to do it really is to kind of switch your brain off and just try and like do the best for each team as the turn gets around to them. And I never intentionally set myself up to fail. As much as it might look it a couple of points in this match, those are usually mistakes. But this is the third match I recorded because I wanted to get a good match in. One was okay, but I didn't play very well in it. It's just a lot of me missing shots and stuff. The next was really fun, but it was too short, and then this one came along, and it was recorded at 2 AM because I have no control over my life. Also, this is the PlayStation 1 version of Worms. I do also own the the PC version, the MS-DOS version of Worms. That would have been a really cool shot if I hadn't hit my own one. I own the original PS1 and PC versions. I decided to do the PS1 version just because it's less finicky to get set up. Like, I envisioned a lot of recording problems because, again, it happens in DOSBox, and I have not tinkered with that for a few years. So I was like, you know what? Let's get the original that I would have played as a kid. I don't know if there's really any differences between the two versions, but this is the one we've got. I really hope you will enjoy this gameplay of Worms, because I really do want to do more Worms in the weekly Waypoint. I actually did one way back in the day in Worms Reloaded, which is I've always said it's my favourite one, but I might be reevaluating that, but as we go. But it's been kind of a through line throughout my gaming life. Like, there are some years when I haven't played it, or probably not even thought about it, but I always end up returning to Worms at some point and having a great time with it. And going back to this original PlayStation 1 version, I was surprised at just how well it holds up. Like, it's legitimately still a fantastic version of Worms compared to all of the others. The art style isn't there, but again, I have nostalgia for this art style. This probably looks like shit if you've never played it or seen it before, but I really enjoy how this looks. But yeah, when I say we'll be seeing the Worms games throughout the years in the following weeks, don't worry, I'm not doing every single entry because there's a bum ton of them. I mean, for instance, Worms Armageddon and Worms World Party are basically the same game, so we'll just play Worms Armageddon. But also, I don't own all of them. I own, like, most of them on PC. I have Worms Reloaded, and I have Worms Clan Wars, which I've hardly ever played. I think I might have played, like, one round of it. I have Worms Revolution, but it's on PS3. And I'm like, do I want to set up PS3 recording just for Worms Revolution? Now that I look at it, it does look like a good Worms game, but back in the day I was just kind of like, I don't think I could figure out how to do a local multiplayer game because I didn't realise that the way I played Worms was by myself in local multiplayer, which sounds kind of sad now that I say it out loud. I have played it with people before, it's a lot of fun. But yeah, I've wishlisted that on Steam, so if that goes on sale between now and when it would come up in the series, I'll buy it for like £3 or whatever. From what I know, I think that one has a pretty robust level editor, so that's cool. And then I have Worms WMD, but it's also on Game Pass, which is where I've been playing it. I didn't realize I had Worms WMD, like I owned it. Like that took me by surprise. I was looking through my Worms games on Steam. I was like, wait, I own WMD. I've been playing it on Xbox. But yeah, I could set up AI to play against, but I much prefer just playing against myself. That being said, I have played a couple of WMD matches online recently. It is fun playing against other players, even if you don't know who they are. But it does make it more embarrassing when you end up blowing yourself up because you have no one to laugh about it with. You just know that some stranger's watching you like, what are you doing, you idiot? Anyway, what games have I been playing this week? Well, mostly Final Fantasy XIV. I almost fell off that horse a week or two ago, but I got back into it when I realised Reese was playing it. Now I'm super into it. I've been leveling my red mage. He's currently level... I say he, it's still Tamaris. But I'm currently level 60 red mage, and I quite like the class quests for it so far. It's pretty fun. I've also been leveling my carpentry by way of Ishgardian restoration. I was getting pretty frustrated with, like, I was getting stuck in a rut of I needed better gear, but to get that better gear I needed to do crafting, but to succeed in that crafting I needed the better gear. But eventually through Ishgardian restoration I kind of found some stuff that I could do, but it is still a little frustrating at points, so I'm kind of like, you know, the most I've ever raged at Final Fantasy XIV is in crafting, which is a little strange to people who have never done it, but I'm sure people who have done it will understand. Outside of that game though, I started Persona 3 Portable on Game Pass, and I don't know if it's something that I'm gonna keep up with right now, but I really enjoyed my kind of first impressions with it. I have also dipped my toe into Persona 5 Royal, and I guess I have kind of a controversial opinion because I've noticed most people are a bit funny about recommending Persona 3 as their first Persona game, but compared to Persona 5 Royal, I think this has a much better introduction. And I know that, like, this is the portable version of a game. It doesn't have, like, actual free roaming and a lot of stuff you might expect from a fully fledged Persona title. I can't talk. I nearly said Persona. But I actually like this slightly more pared back visual novel style experience so far. But if you're wondering how far I've done my first Tartarus run. I'm still a little bit in the tutorial area. I might go back and continue playing it more for now, but I'm enjoying the story. I'm enjoying the gameplay, and it's a good time. I did also download Monster Hunter Rise on Xbox. I own it already on Switch, and I've not played a huge amount of it, but I basically just sped my way through the tutorial, and good God, does that game have a lot of tutorial. I remember thinking that compared to Monster Hunter World, the tutorial was fairly short, but when you already know how to play and you're just trying to like get through the tutorial as fast as possible, you realise how much tutorial there still is to get through. Now, coming up this week, we've got this Xbox Game Dev Showcase thing, and that's pretty exciting. It's weird, we don't know what they're doing with Game Pass at the minute, because for those of you who don't keep up with it, normally on the first and third Tuesday, I believe, of every month, they put out one of those tweets showing all the titles which are coming to Game Pass. But I think since mid-December, they've been completely quiet on that front. They've been, you know, we've had games on Game Pass. For instance, we just got Monster Hunter Rise and Persona 3 and 4. But it's certainly a lot less than the amount of titles we normally get. And at first I was like, you know, it's been the holidays or whatever. Like, clearly they haven't got any licensing agreements for Game Pass because it's been the holidays. But the longer it goes on for, the more I realise, oh, something's going on here. So I don't know if they're just trying to like change the amount of games that appear on Game Pass, or like if they're just, it's just like a quiet period maybe. But I think they're gonna announce some more games coming to Game Pass in the developer direct. But the one thing that does still kind of get me is people like, what am I paying my subscription for if there's no new games? And I just kind of like look at this library of hundreds of games on Game Pass. I'm like, I'm sure there's something in there you haven't played yet. I'm sure you'll be okay. But yeah, they've listed 4 main games that they're going to talk about, and it's a good thing I went and looked them up because I just had to delete a bunch of me talking about one of the games that they didn't mention. I thought they were going to reveal the next DLC for Forza Horizon 4 or 5, which you would expect at this point, but no, that's not listed here. What is listed here is Forza Motorsport, which I'm very interested in because I've been playing a lot of 7 lately. Oh, how could I forget the next expansion for the Elder Scrolls Online, which I've not been big on this year. Recently I went back and started playing High Isle, but I mean, I'm back playing Final Fantasy XIV, so that'll tell you how that went. But I am still interested in seeing what comes next. They've released a teaser, and people are saying stuff about Hermaeus Mora, and I love me some Hermaeus Mora, so hopefully something cool comes out of that. And they're also going to show off Minecraft Legends and Redfall. I don't really care about Minecraft Legends. Redfall, I potentially care about. You know, it's obviously a Game Pass Day 1 title, so I'll probably give it a shot when it comes out. But yeah, Redfall is like a first-person shooty vampire game, right? I'll give that a go, maybe. I don't know. Sadly, Starfield will not be attending, but it will be getting its own showcase later. I hope not too much later, because that game's meant to be coming out within, like, the next few months, right? The first half of 2023. Do I smell a delay on the horizon? Starfield is one of my most anticipated games of 2023, so I'm hoping not. But if it needs it, it needs it. There was also a really stupid moment in Xbox news this week where some untrustworthy leaker, who apparently has been wrong about things in the past, came out and said 343 aren't going to be developing Halo anymore. Big shake up in the industry. And all the Halo haters cheered, and all the regular people went, what? That's kind of, I mean, they were just finding their feet with new leadership. And GameSpot reported on it, and wouldn't you know, it turned out to be false. So much so that 343 Industries literally had to put out a very blunt statement saying, we're still developing the game. How fucking embarrassing. Like, I mean, you could say they brought it on themselves, but how fucking embarrassing that they had to do that. Good God. I hate the wider gaming community at times. There was an article recently about how 75% of game developers in a survey said that they feel like the actual environment of video games, of gamers, and how they treat developers was toxic and, you know, not healthy. And if you look at the tweet of that news post, everyone's just like, oh, fucking shut up, devs, idiots, do more work, make more games. Like, literally unilaterally, that's the kind of attitude. Like, stop whinging and just do your job better, and then we won't be whinging at you. And it's like, good God. I guess that's what happens when a medium becomes, I guess, is gaming the most popular medium in the world at this point? I know it's a bigger industry than movies at this point. I think I've heard people say that. Like, is it the most popular thing? You know what I mean? Because sadly, the more people I've noticed over life, I could be wrong, but I've noticed that the bigger a community, the more toxic it can potentially be. Like, it's almost like a one-to-one. If you have a small community, usually it can be full of quite nice people, but the bigger it is, the worse it is. And if we're talking, like, just people who play video games as a community, it's going to be one of the biggest on the planet, right? And it's disappointing sometimes to see just how people act. But I don't mean to be a downer. We here at Kritigri, youtube.com/@Kritigri, we have fun in lighthearted, fun communities full of nice people. And if we ever grow, we'll be sure to heavily moderate that shit. But yeah, a lot of the time I end up feeling like the kid in the back of the class who just wants to learn, and all the kids are just like making fun of a teacher who's having a terrible time. That's how I feel in a lot of, like, you know, like in live streams, like you see the fucking comments that go by in like E3 live streams and stuff, and you're just like, what is wrong with you people? I guess a lot of them are kids, but the sad thing is, you know, a lot of them are adults. Sorry, I've been in a very kind of a downer of a mood about the general attitude in the world lately. Not just in relation to video games, but other things too. But, you know, when life gets you down, there's always worms. Or is there? You can't trust that anything's permanent, because, I mean, recently a bunch of World of Warcraft players in China had their entire accounts erased because of dumb fucking gaming politics. But no, Worms is an offline game. You always have worms. That sounds bad out of context. You don't want worms, normally. If you watched this far in the video, thank you. Feel free to let me know what your favourite Worms game is in the comments below. That's right, I am pushing for engagement in this one, because I've run out of things to say as we reach the end of the video. Like and subscribe. No, seriously though, thank you for watching. Not everyone does. It's weird, like, you look at the drop-off rate as well in videos, and people leave after, like, the first 30 seconds. I'm like, I know my attention is bad. My attention span's bad, but sheesh! Okay, that's really gonna do it. Thank you for watching this video. I'll see you next week. Goodbye!